So let's talk about the NAB and SAARF and what does that really mean. Oresti Patricios with me, CEO of Ornico Media. Oresti, good chatting to you. Hi.
Hi, Ashraf. How are you doing?
Right, so just as firstly, quick one. What's the issue? And then we'll get your opinion.
I think what the issue is that SAARF has been managing the audience measurement numbers for a while. And in summary, just that the NAB are looking to actually kind of do it on an independent perspective.
And why so?
I think they were having issues. My understanding of it is they were having issues with the Thames panel. They found that their numbers, specifically on the lower LSMs, weren't actually representative of what their real numbers ultimately are. And, they had a concern about that, which I can understand why they would have the concern, because it really relates back to the advertising revenue.
So basically what we're saying is the NAB, which is the National Association of Broadcasters, we're not trusting SAARF any longer with regard to the numbers.
Well, I don't know if they weren't trusting them in terms of their numbers, but they found that their numbers weren't what they feel were the correct numbers.
But normally, if that's the case, you'll just work out why you should get up your numbers. Get your game right. If they're moving out, it means they don't trust the numbers.
Well, the reality is that in a recessionary period, sometimes what you're trying to fight for that extra buck. And the numbers need to be looked at. And looking at the SAARF papers, they're not disagreeing with some of the issues, but there were very, very small ways to actually improve and get those issues correct. You know what I'm saying?
So in fact, the NAB and they're represented by broadcasters, right? The SABC and ETV, probably the most significant amongst us. They've actually pulled out now.
Well, they pull out by the end of the year, and then they stop paying. I think by January 2014, they stop paying that 1% levy.
So what are the implications of that?
Well, I think I was at the PAMRO conference now in Madagascar, and it kind of made quite an impression on me. GFK did a presentation on numbers worldwide. And what they found is if there wasn't transparent joint discussions, the advertising pie starts deteriorating. And once those numbers are completely independent, those numbers start turning around again. And I think that's my biggest concern within this industry, is that if we're not having an independent, transparent view of the numbers, then I think the industry will
So do you think it's been independent now or not?
Yeah, I think it has been independent. In fact, I know that SAARF got a independent French company to kind of look at the methodologies, and they said that the methodologies were on scale with what's happening internationally. Yeah, there were some issues. And with very, very little tweaking, they said these numbers can, the issues that NAB have could be corrected.
You see, I'm just thinking, so how is SAARF then responding? Because can they afford to do without the NAB? Can they afford to do without a levy from the SABC and ETV? I would think no.
Well, no. But can the industry afford not to have that? And I think the dispute is also over that 1%. Whose money really is it? Is it the marketers' money? Is it the broadcasters' money? I have a very strong view on that, but that's my perception of it and my view in terms of who's that money.
If they then go their own way, that's NAB, where they effectively regulate themselves in terms of numbers, your thoughts in terms of whether the industry will buy into those numbers? And I'm not for 1 minute suggesting at all what others may be thinking, okay, but your thoughts?
Yeah, me neither. This is a personal opinion, and looking at some of the research internationally and what I've seen specifically at PAMRO, is if you don't have independent numbers outside, it looks like a self-interest within it. So the market doesn't really will look and maybe not trust those numbers, and it's to the detriment of everybody, the broadcasters as well as the marketers and the industry. And I think that's what MASA is trying to fight at the end of the day. Let's just make it a joint industry committee, inclusive of the broadcasters, inclusive of the media agencies, but inclusive of the media.
So what do you want to happen?
Well, I mean, my article I wrote just so that we can keep this, the conversations going, ultimately, because, I mean, really, just to negotiate it is, and get to a place that it's independent, transparent, trusted, numbers that are trusted, is really key for me. And I think that that really going back to where we were is important. Not in terms of how we do it. The methodologies are right, but correct those issues that the independent research company has said they need to be corrected. And because if we lose the pot that we're in at the moment, it's the ACA goes as well. I mean, they're also funded by this, and that's self-regulation.
And the ACA is an acronym for what? Let's get that right. By the way, chatting to all
Advertising Standards Authority. Okay. I mean, sorry, at ASA, Advertising Standards Authority.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. So you're saying, I mean, work together. But do you have a sense there's enough goodwill? Because if they've already resigned to vacate, 1 year from the end of December to 2014, is it a case of that's it? Well, never mind. What would you think, for example?
Yeah, I mean, my thought process is. I think there is enough goodwill in this industry to be able to kind of start negotiating. I know, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, NAB and MASA were negotiating to try and look at the issues and how they can kind of take it forward. And I'm really hoping that people understand what's happening and where the detriment will be for the industry and start negotiating and getting there.
The other part, and I chatted to Kaiser Kanyako from the SABC just when this thing just sort of happened, he made the point that they also wanted representation on SAARF.
Yeah.
That means NAB wanted representation on SAARF.
They wanted more representation on SAARF.
Okay.
And I think that's one of the issues. I think again, yes, those were one of the issues that came about, and I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was rejected by the whole SAFM committee. And is it really about more representation, or is it about better numbers? I don't know if it's about more representation. I think it's about the numbers coming out in a more transparent and trustworthy fashion.
So in the meantime, while this happens, and then just end with this, what does this mean? The fact there's been a question mark around the validity of the numbers. I mean, and that, like it or not, the TV and radio are all sort of measured according to a certain research standard, and whether we agree with it, that's the way it's measured, and it's measured against each other every year. Right. So in the meantime, how believable are those numbers? If we say a certain show has got 500,000 viewers, or 1 million viewers, or 5 million viewers, like which I think Generations has got, or whatever, how believable is that? And do we then accept or not?
Well, can you accept the numbers if it's from one independent perspective, from one media owner's perspective either? The reality is you can trust those numbers when you're really looking. When you're looking at, like I said, the methodologies that are ultimately used. The independent research company has said that the methodology is world class and is benchmarked across any of those international standards. So the standards are right. We just need, my understanding of it is it just needs to be tweaked.
Okay. So lastly, we have 5 or 6 different agency awards. I'm talking of advertising. Why not have 5 different standards? I mean, anybody can open up their own measurement, and it's up to you and I to agree, and if you disagree, just take the 5 and divide by 5, and you get an average to say, well, clearly, based upon that, that's really what's coming up.
Well, I'm not 100% sure. The reality is these numbers are currency, and that currency needs to be trusted across the industry. Just imagine if you had different currencies, one would be a rand, one will be whatever. No one would trust those numbers. Even when the 200 rand notes came out, that there was some fraud. No one trusted those 200 rand notes, and that's the reality. If we don't trust this currency, then the industry, the marketing industry, will shrink, and I think that's what's critical.
Okay, that's where we can leave it. I wonder what your thoughts are. Happy to take an email. I won't sell it. Well, if you want to SMS now, that's fine. 34701, or to tweet to me at Ashraf Garda. But off the air, I'll check out your emails, and you can do that to ashraf@safm.co.za. By the way, tomorrow we talk about Syria in the morning, in the afternoon show. Well, tomorrow afternoon, let's get that right. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock, 1 hour about Syria, and then from 3 o'clock we chat to Bobby Gottsell, putting him in the spotlight. So every reason for you to connect with me on the afternoon show. Thanks for your time, Oresti. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Ashraf.
Raising some interesting issues there is Oresti Patricios from Ornico CEO. He is. Now, what about